Part two of my conversation with Eric Postow relating to AI, with a particular focus on transportation policy. And thank you all for tuning back in. Uh, Eric, there's a couple of things I wanted to discuss with you. One was issues relating to people hacking into like the transportation grid, or you could see someone basically holding everyone up for ransom or causing accidents or terrorist or whatever the situation. Is there anything going on in that area?
Well, I think that critical infrastructure is a central aspect of any AI policy. AI only increases the risk of cybersecurity attacks, our power grid, water, all of these things, our city infrastructures, traffic, management, all that stuff. So sure, there's always the risk and the threat of some kind of an attack, but AI is also the solution in these things. As the attacks get more sophisticated with AI, so do the solutions on the same side. So it's kind of I don't know, a battle of algorithms. But what's more important than that the attacks can happen and that we have to have the defenses is that the infrastructure itself has to be modernized, has to be equipped to add on AI things, which takes significant computational power and energy and resources and things like that. So it's not something that we can just snap our fingers and it's here. It's how are we planning for this? How do we future-proof over time? How do we get to that future where we have AI run cities? But what are the steps that we have to take to get there now? So you start with your safety and your security, your cybersecurity policies, your privacy, things like that.
I wanted to get a little bit into the privacy because someone's collecting a whole bunch of information. And your driving habits, where you're going. I can imagine in divorces, all kinds of things. Information for discovery. I mean, do people? Will you be able to opt out? I mean, will people be monitored constantly? And
there's an automated vehicle technology company out of Australia, I think, and their internal vehicle scanners can say how much you weigh, can see your disposition, can learn a lot and retain a lot of personal information about you, which is built in for safety features so that the airbag deploys at the precise speed for your body size and weight and where you're sitting relative to the thing. So your car gets smarter and becomes more safe, but you're right. What's happening with all this information?
I mean, I could see a health insurance company going, "Wow, you're overweight. I'm going to raise your rates." Or as I mentioned, a divorce proceeding. Hey, where were you? Or, or the auto insurance company saying you're driving, a couple miles too fast, so we're going to raise your rates.
We're driving very quickly into the fully virtual world, aren't we? There's no secrets anymore. China's got the majority of our secrets anyway. So yeah, I don't know. I think these are just the issues that you wrestle with. They don't change. You just wrestle with them with new technology, and hopefully you are addressing them with your foundational legal structures. We already have data privacy laws that protect our personal information. But what about the laws that monetize private data? Can you monetize your private data in such a way that you could get royalties when the advertisers are coming to you? Do you get something back for that information? So I think I don't know what all the answers are, except to say like we're wrestling with the same issues. We just have a new technology with which to do it, and it exacerbates everything, good and bad. So we have to consider, I guess, get back to what's really important about who we are now, where we're heading, what are our values, what are the ethics that we think are really important to build into these models, and have to acknowledge like you can't put a lid on it. There's no lid on AI.
It's out of the bag, right?
Yeah.
Or a
So
bottle, I'm sorry, not the bag, the bottle.
it's out.
Right.
And because it's out, and because it is instantaneously transformative, all we can do is set up the frameworks for who we really are. And what is that's why national policy matters. Like, what identity does American AI take on? Right now, it just looks like, hey, Europe, we don't like your rules because it might limit our tech companies. And it's like, yeah, okay, way to be assertive there. But what's our policy? What are we going to do here to make sure that our companies are competitive, that our the homeland is safe and secured, all these
I
things.
guess part of what your role is to help companies navigate all these things and be, I don't know if necessarily on the forefront, but to anticipate these issues and put things in place so that you're ready. Or
Yeah,
no.
so I like to work with a couple of different profiles. I like to work with businesses that know that they need to start thinking about AI fundamentally and help them during their transitional process. Evaluating talent, evaluating jobs and roles, and how do they modify with AI? What are the technologies? And then helping them implement smart employment policies that don't run afoul of the law, and to think and consider, how do we take care of our workforce, not just replace our workforce with AI. So I like working with those types. And I've really enjoyed been an advisor for an AI company for a little while now, and I've really enjoyed the fire hose effect of learning about AI up close and personal, and the technology behind it. And in that case, it's where AI and blockchain meet, which has been a fascinating dual-headed whatever to kind of wrap my hands around. And what I can say after from that experience is that the technology is far outpacing our ability to describe the technology, and even our ability to contain it in older ways. We need totally new approaches to governance here. Otherwise, you will come up with something that will be obsolete in 6 months. That's how fast things are moving.
Right.
Uh,
It's
so I
not
think,
just in this realm. I mean, I'm involved in the intellectual property realm, and
yeah,
changes are happening with respect to patents and copyrights.
seems like AI use is getting more favored support, not less. Is that the right trend? Am I reading it right?
I'm not sure if there's more support, but the USPTO issued some guidelines this previous year, the Copyright Office. There's issues relating to whether AI, and both say AI can't be an inventor or an author. And so where's the balance between who's inventing and who's authoring?
But
And
someone could significantly use AI and make just enough modifications to it to get to be the inventor. Is that right?
yes, but when it's just enough, I mean, we have the guidelines, but it's going to be very interesting with respect to the courts. And basically, there's been no decisions. I think one is coming up as far as what is an author, what is an inventor. And companies are going to have to consider, am I going to keep this a trade secret? Am I going to try to patent this? It's going to involve more keeping good data records, because inevitably, in generally a patent infringement suit, you're going to say, I'm not infringing and I am, the claims are invalid. Oh, but in addition, you're not even an inventor because AI did it.
Yeah. Well, I would ask you a follow-on question. Given your international experience, what is Japan's companies say relative to bringing their technology or their whatever that has AI components in it into the United States, and vice versa? What does the international space look like here? Because it's so competitive out there that we might see lots of potential patent infringement, or you think you have something that you can patent, but someone else already did it 10 times over. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you raise a very good question, and I'm not an expert in the Japanese or Chinese laws. I need to actually study that more. But it's kind of one of the factors of internationalization is the different standards. I mean, with regard to whether patent eligible subject matter, we're generally very strict on whether you can patent computer software or diagnostics. And other countries in Europe tend to be more lenient. So these different countries are going to have different bases, and I don't want to speak out and then someone come back, oh, that's not it. So I'm going to check up on that. It's an excellent question, but a lot of my client base is foreign and from Asia and also from Europe, and these will raise interesting questions. You mentioned before, Europe has a very strict or more strict policy on data privacy, and so U.S. companies have to adapt in that respect. And international companies and even US companies are going to have to adapt to the different types of policies and regulations relating to intellectual property.
Yeah, I'm wondering if AI is part of the flattening, becoming that closer global marketplace, which requires more international protections, vice domestic protections. Um, just something I've been thinking about, that technology only accelerates our ability to work with others, which is a good thing across national lines, but it also creates potential headaches for guys like you to figure out.
Well, there's always international issues, and uh, there's a lot of consideration going kind of both ways, and uh, it'd be interesting to see once the Japanese and the Chinese and the Koreans, who are obviously very active in this area, uh, how their laws develop and whether the U.S. Uh, generally the U.S. doesn't, even though they might be later, they're not so big in following what other countries do. We're pretty much we're going to do what we're going to do kind of country. And since we're such a large market, and everybody wants to sell in the United States because we've got a huge GDP and large middle class, uh, they often will adapt to what we need to do, even though in other areas we're adapting to what they need to do.
Well, one thing I think you'd agree on, it's a very exciting time, and I love being in the AI space because it's so creative and it's so fast paced, and all these things are happening and they're complicated, and there's no easy answers.
I know, but that's what makes at least my job, but I'm sure your job too. I mean, as a patent attorney, I love new technologies. I love new developments and learning new things. I mean, blockchain's a few years. I mean, but keep in mind, all these technologies, everyone's like, oh, this is going to change the world. Oh my God. I mean, we've had so many developments. We had the computers, and then we had the internet, and then we had mobile phones. I mean, the world is always changing. So, everyone wants to say AI, AI, AI. In another 20 years, they'll be like, psh, AI is old news. You know,
It's commonplace, yeah.
we might be beaming each other across the world, or who knows? Or I was just driving in a car, and my friend said, "Oh, what about like flying? It's the self-driving cars. What about flying cars?"
It's coming.
So, and I was like, "Well, there's going to be some traffic issues up there in space." And
Yeah, from space debris.
but I think we've covered a lot of areas. Do you have any parting comments to the audience or anything?
No, I think I'm grateful to be here. I think it's great that attorneys like you have been around doing a lot of great work over the years, are talking about AI and examining that this is, while it may become commonplace, it isn't right now.
Yeah.
And this is the biggest thing since AOL, and maybe bigger by a lot. I think it's really important. I think that we're entering a really in just a time of transformative change at every level, and AI has everything to do with it, or at least will be very much in the mix. So just keep your eyes open, your head on a swivel is my recommendation.
I look forward to anticipating working with you on more and more projects, and To everyone out there, thank you for tuning in to Unraveling Intellectual Property with Michael Stein. This is the end of part 2. Thank you, Eric. And I'm sure we'll have other podcasts, and I'm sure you'll have plenty of other topics to discuss.
No doubt. Thanks, Michael.
Take care.